This is Real Estate Co-Pilot. It doesn't matter if you're a client or an agent, I can help guide you through your real estate journey. Get ready for takeoff. This is Real Estate Co-Pilot. I'm your host, Josh Shives. We are on the scene for our first Out and About podcast, and we are in Baker's Farm out in Dayton, Indiana, in a Majestic custom home, and we have with us today's guest, Ashley Milakis, Jake Milakis, and Josh Milakis, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Like you said, I'm Ashley, and I work with Majestic and Milakis Homes specifically on the real estate sales side. I've been in real estate for about 12, 13 years now, and worked with the home building process through the entire time.
I'm Jake Milakis. I manage Milakis Custom Homes, kind of a sister company of Majestic Homes, and I've been in the business I came back home in 2016. I graduated from Purdue in 2014 and worked for a big global engineering construction company for 2 years, building substations and transmission lines. Then decided to come back home and start working for the family business. And as of January of 2023, started managing all Milakis homes. And yeah, that's what I've done.
That's you. All right.
My name is Josh Milakis. I am in charge of all the operations for Majestic Custom Homes in Lafayette. I also have a hand in the operations up in Fort Wayne. I run up there about once a week.
Sounds fun.
It's a early drive and a tiring one on the way home.
Yeah.
But I started working for Milakis Homes in 2014. Prior to that, I had worked in Indianapolis for a light commercial contractor. We did commercial real estate little commercial build outs. I built a bunch of Lids hat stores and kind of flew all over the country, managed those from near and far, and did a couple of old Navy stores and mostly interior build outs, not necessarily from the ground up construction. And prior to that, I was graduated from Purdue in construction management. My brother Jake also graduated from that with that degree. I graduated in 2011.
I think you guys, you spoke a little bit about your background there. Didn't you both work basically for the company during college too, like doing different positions in the company? Or
Yeah, so I started framing
that's what I
houses when right after I graduated from high school. Learned a little bit of Spanish.
Okay.
Not enough, but it would have been nice to learn a little bit more. And then I started doing punch out for Majestic Homes and learn how to trim out houses, set cabinets, and run baseboards. And then one summer, I actually trimmed out a whole apartment building by myself during the summer, and helped out with Majestic as much as we could.
I always think it's the best when the boss can do any position in the build. So
Right.
So I think it just gives you a different perspective, and you get to see every different aspect, and not just see it, but like, oh, I've done that, so I know what it should be like.
Right.
As far as the framing goes, we were basically just the mules back then. I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Carry this over here, throw this up there.
Yeah, I was a 18-year-old that was going to play a year of college football at DePaul, and they took advantage of that.
You weren't the one walking on the trusses.
No,
across
I
the
was
middle of the
terrified
house.
about that. I was passing up sheets of OSB to the guys on the roof.
For 8 hours a day,
And
10 hours a day.
Easy work, right?
Yeah, it got me big. I was ready for football
There
that
you
fall.
go. Oh,
Learned what I never wanted to do again.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you learn every aspect of the build, and I think that just helps. So like I said, we are actually in a spec home for Majestic. Ashley, can you tell us what floor plan this is?
This is the Sacramento floor plan. It is 2,206 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, which is kind of rare in a lot of our ranch houses. We don't usually have that half bath. Open floor plan. It has a large peninsula, large island, tray ceilings. And
That's it?
a
Just-
generic
no, no,
of
no,
the
no.
floor plan.
It's up to a nice pond.
Yes, it is on a pond lot in Baker Farms. currently listed at $429,900.
It's got a really great master closet set up directly into the laundry room as
I
well.
like that too.
That's really sharp on this model.
I've been tinkering with this floor plan quite a bit recently. One of the changes is it does have a half bath, but I've developed another option where the half bath actually goes away, and the door from the laundry room, which now connects to a hallway, that area I'm going to use it and create about a 10.5 by 10.5 office space.
Cool.
So this house will have a secondary option of being a 3-bed, 2-bath plus an office.
Cool.
And we've had people turn that into a walk-in pantry as well. So there's a lot of options with this floor plan for sure.
And then if they ever wanted to put on a basement, I would assume that's probably where the stairs would go to.
Yeah,
so
it's a good
kind of
it's a good
versatile.
location. I like to kind of keep it near the front door. There's typically a little bit more space that we can sacrifice there versus trying to take space out of the living room or
Yeah.
out of a more functional area.
Lots of options. Do you get a lot of basements right now? I know that it's
With Majestic Homes, we're doing not very many basements,
Yeah.
really at all, and that's one of the changes that we've gone through in the last couple of years. Is we're designing Majestic and Milakis Homes to complement each other. Milakis Homes is more of a true custom builder, and if I have a client that has an outlot that wants a basement and wants to do have a bigger hand in a lot of their modifications, then a lot of times I'll say, you know what, this is a great meeting, and I'm happy to build your house.
Right.
But my brother runs a company, which is Milakis Homes, and they're a little bit more well suited and tailored to do that custom work from start to finish. So we're able to pass things back and forth a little bit more friendly than most people might think.
makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I didn't know if how frequent the basements are with pricing nowadays, or if more people are staying away from that.
I think everyone wants a ranch on a basement.
Yeah,
That's
I
their
mean, that's
dream.
what they
That's
want.
what everybody wants.
Yeah.
And then you start talking about what the cost of being on a basement and things like that are. So we have a lot of really nice floor plans with big bonus rooms that if it's a family that needs that second space, if the budget doesn't fit, then we can flip them into something like that. And that seems to be a pretty popular option that people are doing these days.
Yeah, what was the? It was a Milakis, I believe, but
Emma
like
two-story.
over in Rainy Brook, the white one.
Yeah.
It had that giant bonus room with the.
Yeah, and that's what, lately those have been the hottest models to sell, or the houses that have that second living space, you know, like what you would get in a basement, but it doesn't cost you, that big upfront cost, plus finishing the basement. You're getting a much lower cost per square foot for the house, more square footage, but it gives you that second living room for the kids to go to and not be in the living room downstairs and
The hangout space.
Exactly. Yeah. And, for me with Milakis Homes, we build quite a few basements. Last year, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I bet you we did 15
Okay.
homes on basements.
How many
and,
builds did you do last year?
we closed on 47 last year.
Okay. How about Majestic? How many?
Majestic Homes between Lafayette and Fort Wayne, Kokomo, Lebanon, Frankfurt, it was 133 houses.
So that's quite a few between the two of you, though.
Yeah.
It's a fun day, right? Like just every day at the office is fun, right?
Seems like we're always going in different directions.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
No.
Ashley, you get to be a lot of part of a lot of those, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, typically where I kind of step in is when I come across a client or an agent calls me and they say, hey, we want to build or we're interested in, one of our spec houses, then I kind of take the front leg of things, meet with them, talk to them, figure out their wants, their needs, their wishes, their budget, their location, kind of do all that groundwork and get everything lined up for the boys. And then even as far as nail down which floor plan they want, figure out maybe some of the tweaks that they want to do, and then set up a meeting with them to go through the final changes on the floor plan. Then we work on pricing and all of those type of things.
So, like, if somebody was interested in building with your company, the first step would be to initiate at the office or initiate with you?
With me. And that way I can do all the legwork for them. They can keep rolling on the backside of things, and I can do the front questioning and the time part.
You guys don't like to field the front questioning?
There's a lot to deal with and handle.
I'm
I
sure.
won't say deal, a lot to handle, especially with how we've kind of split things up. I mean, before, Josh and I used to manage all of Milakis Homes together. and we split it and we ran the jobs. You know, we'd meet with the clients, we'd run the jobs, we'd work with the subcontractors, we'd do, you know, we'd be at closing, doing all that. So the realtors are a huge help for us in, you know, getting all of that upfront information and kind of letting people understand, you know, what the reality is of the build, because obviously, you know, housing prices have gone up.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, gone are the days of the, you know, 300,000s for in a lot of situations. It was, you know, I remember I listed one in Concord Ridge probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it was under 300,000.
Didn't we sell that Napier for like, it was 2 something, I think.
Yeah,
in there.
and it was just crazy that, you know, that I was able to get it under 300 now. Now it's like I try everything I can to get it under 4.
Yeah.
And the realtors having that part in that, you know, eliminates a lot of those tough questions and, you know, conversations that we have to have, but, you know, they do have to happen.
We get to be the good guys and the bad guys in that part. Tell them, like, you want a house on a basement and you want to be 300, not going to happen.
I mean, fun fact, I live in a Majestic home, and, you know, it's like 7.5 years old at this point, but, like, it's a ranch on a basement, and, you know, it was right around that 300 mark, but that was 7.5 years ago. So, like,
With the basement.
With the basement, yeah.
That's
It's nuts, right? Compared to what today's pricing is. So.
Yeah.
The other good part about the realtors and kind of where we handle things is having the hands-on interaction with the clients, so they aren't getting the phone calls and the messages all night long, and they have a little more, we can spend a little more one-on-one time because they have their hands in so many different pots and things going on throughout the whole process, and other people to deal with, where the clients get that one-on-one time with someone representing the company.
Yeah. I mean, I know from our perspective that, in Ashley's perspective, our phones ring literally all hours of the day. I assume your guys' are similar.
very, very much so.
Yeah.
They just get some clients and all the subs.
And all the subs. Okay. So.
And the people, you know, there's got a nail in their tire, you know, and stuff. It's like, I'm really sorry.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about how they would start, and the first initiation would probably be with the realtor, and then it would lead into probably talks with the builder and talks about pricing, but like kind of weed out some generic questions. Once they get into that process, and let's say they you know, they're, you know, you give them the basic info, they're ready to move forward. What's the expectation for the building process? What's the expectation for the building process, the timeline expected? You know, and I know that can vary based on a neighborhood lot or a spec or an outlot, sorry. And I don't know, just guide me through what the client expectation would be.
Depending on the company, they're slightly different, but the front end of things functions pretty similarly, where we find the floor plan, we make the changes, we get the quote, and then contract is signed. At that point, you're plugged into the schedule, and it kind of falls in where things fit. The client then goes and makes all the selections. We get all of that pricing back, and they're pulling permits on the back end of that time frame. And then depending on which one, from the framing point, it's about 4 to 5 months for completion from the time of framing. Correct, boys?
Yeah, and, you know, it's a different process between both companies. With Milakis Home being more of a, you know, custom home, you know, our lead up time can take longer, typically takes longer. It can be, you know, about the same time if somebody
Yeah, if
comes
both your,
in and
both
they
your
say,
schedules
"This
are
is
clear,
great."
which doesn't exist. And
But, you know, I don't typically ever have, I just had my first one where I met with a guy and showed him a print. He said, I love it. We made a couple red mark change on the print with a red pen, and I sent it out for bids. Never
didn't even have a redraw. It was just a couple.
Amazing. But, you know, I have times where it can take 6 months to, you know, work with a client and get the plan, you know, exactly what they want it to be, you know, send it all out for quotes, get all of those back. I do that on every single spec home that I build. I don't have, you know, standard pricing for my models. I have I give people kind of ballparks and whatnot, but there's a lot more to it in our process, and it takes longer. But it also works because, you know, I've just got 2 framing crews that we run. So we kind of, you know, limit ourselves on what we can build because we don't have the capacity to do more. Milakis Homes is a smaller company with, you know, less resources, I guess, manpower. wise. So
Versus where you're doing almost triple.
Right.
You have a lot more subs and a lot more.
Yeah,
So it's a lot
so-
easier to throw in.
With Majestic Homes, what I have to do is we have a base set of plans, and I believe there's 6 or 7 2-stories that I have like in a strong rotation right now, and probably 12 or 15 ranches. A few of those we only build in one neighborhood in Frankfurt, but what I'll do is intermittently, which right now it's about twice a year, I will send all of my layouts to all of my subcontractors, get their pricing for each individual house, and then those subcontractors agree to hold their price for X amount of time until the vendors are just tearing them apart and they have to raise their prices. Well,
And that's good
So-
for us because then we have base prices. So we can do even more on the front end for Majestic to keep that process as quick as possible by being able to give some pricing or at least a little closer to what it'll be.
and that allows me to move more quickly with the house. If someone walks in and says, I want to build in Sacramento, okay, I can, within about an hour or so, I can look at my base pricing. I can kind of quantify the changes because some of those vendors don't necessarily hold their prices. So on lumber, it's on a monthly rotation. They'll change their prices every month. And concrete, P-fill, and trucking, and so on and so forth are moving targets constantly.
Yeah.
Plus, we have differentials with the distance of driveways. For
Sure.
example, this neighborhood in Baker Farms, the driveways are like 10 feet longer than most other neighborhoods. And so I have to do some of those quantifications and nail down the price, but I can do that in a day. If the homeowner is sticking with more of a standard product as far as not moving walls and adding a whole basement underneath and so on and so forth. Now, I also do have the houses where it'll be a full redraw, and then the process mirrors what Jake's got going on with Milakis Homes a little more closely.
Yeah, so you send it out for a complete bid.
Correct.
But it's also nice when you were talking about, like this exact floor plan, you have like 3 different options you can do with it, or you're working on that. So then you already have, if someone comes in and they do want to change things, you already roughly know.
Right. Yep.
So
I have a pretty good idea, and we've got different options. And I mean, we have 12 different cabinet colors. We have a whole bunch of different countertops, siding colors, roof lines, and so on and so forth. We can modify things to some degree without really creating much of a delay or changing the price.
Yeah, makes sense. Any other things on that? No? Okay.
I was going to say something and I forgot what it was.
Forgot. Okay.
I didn't want to interrupt like I usually do.
You want to talk a little bit about your build time?
yeah, so with Milakis, we have that long process, and I'll say long, but sometimes, like I said, shorter than others. As far as
I guess, like, what would be the expectation if someone just came into you right now and said, and I don't know what's on your plate, but like, just averaged it out. The expectation is, and let's throw the print aside because that's obviously you said 1 to 6 months, but like, what's the expectation to build it?
From I typically have a backlog of work, and it all kind of hinges on that. We have 2 framers that kind of pace us on how many we build. So right this moment, I have, a backlog of a couple months.
Okay.
And that's 2 framers working constantly to get up to framing. So by the time, we sign the contract and we're working on our permits and selections are all getting done, once we get that permit, we're going to put the foundation in right away. And then it'll sit for a little bit of time. That way, if we have good weather, we're not dodging a week's worth of rain or cold temperatures or this and that. But I really kind of start my timeline on building the house at framing because of that backlog and how it varies.
Yeah.
We'll have, it was, a couple years ago, we were a year out on starting to frame.
But
Things have gotten better, but as far as building a house, it's about for a ranch on a slab, I say, about 4 months from the time framing starts until you're moving in that door.
So given like the current backlog, if somebody wanted a Milakis home, you could probably almost, without a guarantee, but you could still get them in this year, realistic.
Right now, yes. This year, we are kind of booking out
Sure.
Just because we do have a couple neighborhoods that are getting ready to come on that we're, having a lot of interest in, and people that they're not in yet. The neighborhoods aren't open yet, I'm sorry. But once they do open, we're really going to pick up and be kind of stuck within those neighborhoods because we have such a log of people wanting to build in those.
And in those particular neighborhoods, we have contract signs, prints ready, selections made. So these people are just waiting on the actual build time to happen.
Okay. Well, let's segue into that then. Like neighborhoods you currently have right now that you have lots available. Obviously, you can build on anybody and everybody's outlot if they would like, and those exist, and people typically have them through a realtor or a family member or something like that. But neighborhoods that you currently have lots available in.
So right now we have lots available in Baker Farms, which is where we're at right now. In the current phase, which is phase 1, we're almost finished, and the only lots that are available, I think, there are 3 lots up in the front. It might only be 2.
Okay. And
Then-
Baker Farms, just for reference, is out in Dayton area.
Right. So you come down from, if you're coming from Lafayette, run down State Road 38 and turn right on Dayton Road, and it's just about a half a mile down on the left-hand side.
Yep.
So the second phase, phase 2 of Baker Farms, the roads are completed, and we're waiting on some of the final engineering to be signed off, and or the surveying to be signed off. So we hope to be putting foundations in here within the next 30 days. You say?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That's the goal, and this phase has 25 lots, I think.
Any pre-solds in there already?
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh,
another
yeah.
one. We have contract selections, everything ready to go.
Right. So
Waiting.
I've got 2 people that want to build this Sacramento model in there right now.
Sure.
And I think Jake's got 2 or 3.
There's some
pre-solds at least.
nice lots back there. I just drove back there this morning.
Yeah.
So.
They're really big lots.
Yeah. So that's Baker Farms. We are in right now. We're planning on starting the 3rd phase in the fall, so we can roll right into that 3rd phase from the 2nd phase because we're having so much success, and we're so busy with selling the 2nd phase right now.
Sure.
In southern Tippecanoe County, there's not very many lots available. Rainy Brook is completed. Concord Ridge, we have a few specs finishing up in there, but there's no more lots to buy in there. Stones Crossing has a handful.
Yeah.
So anything on this end of the county, there's just not much to choose from.
Hickory Ridge has been done for a couple years for us.
Yeah.
There's just no availability.
Yeah.
I think that's just across the county, not even just southern.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
There's
So-
a lot struggle.
In Stones Crossing, I have 4 specs that are in process right now, and those are the last lots that we have in Stones Crossing. In Concord Ridge, I have 1 house that's completed and it's listed on the market, and I have 2 more that I'm framing, and then we're done at Concord Ridge. So that pretty much closes us up for the time being on the south side of the county.
Sure.
So additionally, we have Auburn Meadows in West Lafayette off of Salisbury Street. We started out with 35 lots about 4 months ago, and I think we're down to 7, 8.
That's a good problem. like,
Yeah,
but-
and now that I say that it's not totally clear, but I have 10 or so spec homes that
Sure.
I'm pulling permits on or I have in process. However, I haven't gotten even to the drywall stage on any of those houses before all of them have sold so far. We haven't listed any of them; they just keep getting picked off. So we're trying to keep up, and I know that my brother's in the same position
Yeah.
with Milakis Homes.
Milakis has been the same way. We've started a few specs out there, and they've all sold. And I actually started 2 more because the first 2 out of the 3 sold, and they have sold before we got the foundations done.
It's almost like you want to have things to walk people through, but at the same time, you're not going to turn the sale down. It's like,
Right,
Right.
I have 0 houses on the market right now.
and
That's
I have
crazy.
and I have 1.
This one.
2. I'm
Two.
sorry. I have this one and then
Stones.
1 at Concord. That's it. I just have 2.
2 houses.
But that's where us realtors also, a lot of the communication is we're talking to other realtors and people, and they're coming to open houses, and we're showing them kind of what is planned. So in this market where inventory is so low on existing homes as well, if they can get in there before it even hits the market, if it even makes
Yeah.
it that far, then
You've
then
got
we
your
can
little
help them move forward.
You've got your sheets in front of you. I know you send those out to all of us like bi-weekly or whatever it is. And
Try to. And then people call and it's like, oh, what about lot 139? And then I'm calling them. Where are we at on that?
Gone.
It says planning. What's that mean?
Right.
What stage is that?
that was 2 weeks ago. It's gone already.
Yeah. right.
Exactly. And that's why I have someone, and the realtor said, they're out of town for 3 weeks. I'll have to get back to you. I said, this house won't be there in 3 weeks.
It'll be gone.
If it's not if it's still there by the end of the week, you'll be lucky.
Yeah, so additionally, with subdivisions, we have Stonehenge coming on. We've been working on a big phase there for 2.5 years. It has R1 lots. I think there's, how many lots is it? 29?
28 or 29.
28 or 29 of R1 lots, which can, they're approximately 80 feet wide, third of an acre.
Third of an acre.
Kind of your typical neighborhood lot.
Sure. A third's
Over
even
there.
on the large side. So
It is anymore.
yeah.
And then we have 60.
No, I think there's 80 lots in the first phase of the PD section.
Yeah, so there's a planned development section, which the lot lines are pulled in a little bit, and we're going to be tailoring and catering to a different demographic that.
Which is the maintenance-free section where
Right.
they pay an HOA and some of the not exterior stuff on the house, but the landscaping, the snow removal.
And they actually do pay for some. I heard Phyllis talking about it, that I know it's like $140 a month, and they do pay for some occurrences on like exterior of the actual house.
I think they had like gutters and
storm damage, yeah.
stuff
Some
like that they
cleaning
can opt
and painting
into.
and this and that.
And that exists now in Stonehenge too, right? I think there's some maintenance free there.
Right, but these lots are going to resemble more like a standard lot. So
Okay.
they're going to be detached single-family houses, and a lot of them will have two-car garages. The pad widths are about 55 feet wide, which allows us to build pretty nice size houses. But
So it's-
primarily patio homes, and there are a few basement lots, and
More like Heron Bay, or something like that.
or the reserve, Rainy Brook
Sure,
Reserve.
sure.
It's really close to that on the south side. So-
And for Heron Bay, those houses were a lot narrower than what
Okay.
we're talking about here.
Even
In Stonehenge, in the existing section, those were originally platted to be duplexes, and it's been so many years ago, I guess that wasn't going well, so they replatted it into single-family homes. I think they were 39-foot wide
They're really
houses.
narrow.
Ours are going to be 55-foot wide. So
Okay.
you get, they're either, all of my plans that I have for Stonehenge are either, there's a couple 3-car, but then if they're 2-car, they're expanded 2-car. So it's an oversized 2-car garage. You get a lot of nice storage space with that. But I think I counted yesterday 12 plans, and they go up to like our Morgan plan, which is 3,100 square feet, will fit on with a 2-car garage, a big 2-car garage on one of those lots.
On one of the maintenance-free sections?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, have
Dang.
you guys ever done a 3,100 square foot maintenance free?
No.
I
Mom
can't
and
think
Dad's
of
house.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Dad was against it in the beginning. It's like, if people want it,
Yeah.
why wouldn't we? It's a beautiful home. It's one
Right.
of our prettiest elevations that we have.
It's definitely a missed category right now in Tippecanoe. There's nothing available. When they do come on, they sell within hours. So
We'll have a bunch of them.
And so out there, we didn't even kind of mention this, but there's a whole row of golf course lots that back up to the West Lafayette Country Club. I think it's hole 5.
those will be single family though, right?
Yeah.
Those are all, those are in the PD section.
Oh, they are. Okay.
The R1 lots back up to Capilano.
Okay.
The houses on Capilano.
And then, right across the street from that, on that same street, is there's a beautiful, huge pond. That's a really, really nice looking pond. So there's going to be houses all the way around that pond once it's all done. But the first phase is just the one side of the pond, and then all of the golf course lots.
Yeah.
Cool.
Take a look at Jake's Facebook page. He took our drone out there.
Yeah.
And he's got a pretty good video that kind of lays out where the golf course is, where the pond is, and where the R1 and PD sections. You can kind of tell where they're at. It's prior to the roads really being done, I think. But
Yeah, it was. If you were to go out there today, it looks a lot different. All the grass is grown up around the pond, and they got all
water
the
in the
trees in, and the pond is really nice and full, and it's going to be really nice.
And you guys did most of the. I don't think maybe not the original small section, but you guys did most of that neighborhood to begin with, correct?
we've had a part in the last 3 phases.
Yeah.
So
You're pretty familiar with the territory.
Yeah. Yep. We built a bunch of houses in there. That's really kind of where I got started with Milakis Homes, was building in Rainy Brook, and then the last couple of houses in Heron Bay, and then out at Stonehenge. And that, I guess it was phase 3 or phase 4 at that point. The neighborhood's a very big.
Yeah.
It's been there for a long time. I mean, there's the older phases, and then new stuff got developed.
I can't even remember who did the first phase, but I don't think they're around.
Right.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's been there for a while. What else you got coming up in development?
So we also have a development in Delphi. It was in the newspaper a few days ago. It's called Bone Acres. It's 175 lots. It's going to be broken up into, I think, 3 phases. That's going to be Majestic homes only. And the widths of the houses are a little bit narrower. We're trying to hold our development prices down as best we can to keep the houses as affordable as possible. So that's it's been approved from Dayton's council and
Not Dayton.
Delphi.
I'm sorry, Delphi's council, city council, and
I think
hopefully we're moving dirt there here in the next few months.
Yeah, I think the city of Delphi is pretty excited about that development from the little bits I've heard. I mean, I think they had a plan for it before the land auction, which is like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's good to see it going.
Right. So that's Delphi. Then we have Shepherd's Landing, which is a development, which is going to be a Majestic only development as well in Attica. The family who owns Harrison Steel has a hand in that, and we've got some help from Attica as well. It's going to be right near the high school, and actually we're gifting a little portion of the land so that there's a walking path right to the high school from the neighborhood, so you can walk from the street right down the sidewalk right onto the high school's property.
It's cool.
And I think that's 65 or 70 lots. So we're quoting that out right now, trying to get pricing, and hopefully we're building on that in the spring next year. I mean, if best case scenario, maybe late this fall we could start putting some foundations in. The last one that we have right now that is really close is Sycamore Estates. That's in Monticello. It's an older neighborhood that we have agreed to buy all of those lots. I think it's approximately 60 lots. They've gone through. They had to re-engineer the whole neighborhood because it sat for a long time, and they had to go back through the whole approval process, and it was delayed about a year. But we're moving forward on that, and they plan on moving dirt. Actually, I forgot one more neighborhood. We have Meadowbrook Estates. That's in Frankfurt. And we just finished, we're building our last 2 houses in Southridge, which is a neighborhood that's been there. We've been building in for 5 or 6 years. And this is owned by the family that owns F&K Construction.
Okay.
We're working with them. It's been completely approved. They're actually moving dirt right now, clearing trees and moving dirt. So we will be putting lots in there, hopefully late in the fall as well. So that one's 135 or 145 lots over the course of 2 phases.
Is that going to be Majestic only, or both of you?
That one, it's right now. We are going to be the primary builder,
Sure.
And what kind of I think the standing agreement is if there's enough demand and we have enough capacity to build in there and keep up with the development, then we'll remain the only builder in there.
It's cool.
That's obviously my goal. So build as many as I can. So try my
obviously
best.
we have a lot of lots just outside of Tippecanoe County because, like we said, lots and land here in Tippecanoe County are not plentiful.
I mean, even
Right.
like some of the neighborhoods you just mentioned, like obviously we talked about Lafayette, West Lafayette's tending to sell out pretty quickly. If you just poll statistically, I mean, there's trends for all these other outlier neighborhoods to be selling pretty well too. So I think you've probably seen that, and full blown neighborhoods I think will be interesting to watch, but I think they'll sell. I mean, do you have a targeted price point for like Attica or Delphi or?
Low as I can.
Low as I can.
I mean, right now I don't know how much the lots are going to cost. It's looking like the lots in Attica and Delphi are likely, even though they're smaller, because development costs are so high, they're going to be in the mid 70,000s.
Yeah.
Maybe high 70,000s. We're not really sure. So
I think that's hard for people to grasp. Like I've had this conversation with people.
Right.
Just because it is an outlier neighborhood, like, and mostly outlots because there hasn't been a bunch of full blown subdivisions done, but the development cost is still the same whether
Right.
it was.
Yeah, so you have to think about the cost of engineering and the cost of fuel and diesel and moving dirt and trucking and the cost of PVC. You know, whenever you see a spike in oil prices, PVC is a refined material, so that's volatile and it goes up and up every time that we have something in the news about oil prices.
Yeah.
And it's the same concrete, the same PVC, the same asphalt
Yeah.
that goes into
It's all the
a
same.
neighborhood, whether it's in
The only the
rural Indiana or if it's in downtown Lafayette.
Right.
It's the same material.
So unfortunately,
It's all the
hard
same.
and when land prices are the way that they are, even if in some instances, even if we get the land for free, the lot development expenses are $50,000-$60,000 for the lots. So
Yeah, I mean, even if you buy, the land, the difference between farm ground and Carroll, like we just mentioned, and Tippecanoe is maybe $2,000 or $3,000 an acre. It's not like it's huge.
right, but you have the development costs,
Yeah.
and bringing the utilities, and there's just nothing has gone down in price, so it's hard.
A couple of the other neighborhoods we're building in right now, because a lot of those are future. Three Meadows over on the west side, we're waiting on final permits on that as well,
We
right?
got approval for that yesterday.
Okay, that's good. Another one that we have people kind of lined up waiting to go into, but it's kind of the same status as this one in Stonehenge, where it's pretty much ready to go,
Yeah.
and they'll be able to start out there.
We have 16 in Three Meadows,
And that's both companies are able to build in that one.
16 lots or 16 pre-sold.
16 lots.
Okay.
So
How many are already sold?
We don't have any sold in there yet.
Okay.
I've got one
They're not gonna
that's
last long.
reserved. That
We
I
didn't.
just reserved it yesterday.
We didn't advertise that neighborhood all that closely, that strongly, because we didn't know when we were going to be able to start. And that was really kind of tough.
Sure. It's hard to overpromise and then not deliver.
Right.
And then Milakis Homes is building in Barrington Woods out on the east side off of McCarty, which has been a very popular neighborhood with nice, good-sized lots as well.
And
Yeah,
I've got 3 lots left out there as of right now.
The east side's been taken off. I mean, there's been a lot of action going on and popular. I feel like for a while there wasn't hardly anything on the east side, and then it's kind of boomed a little bit. So,
There's not really any more development happening though over there right now.
yeah, not yet. I
That's
think
where
there
we
will
need.
be.
Yeah,
There will be, but nothing's underway.
I think one more future neighborhood that maybe we could touch on, but we keep hearing rumors of another Rainy Brook phase. What do you want to confirm or deny that? Or
So I don't know any of the major specifics on that neighborhood, but I do know that they have it reserved. It's under contract.
Yeah, I think they're doing a lot of engineering stuff too.
Right. So they're
confirm.
working with configurations and layouts, and I think it's 115 acres, so it turns
a big
into
piece.
quite a few lots.
something I think's cool about that too. I at least from an outside perspective, that's just like, you have all these like your dad's a developer, and then you have some other developers. They're all like coming together just to do it
Yeah.
together, which is awesome.
They get along really well, and they lean on each other. They help each other with advice and help each other with projects. And that's one thing that's really great about our community is there's a lot of sharing that goes on between builders with lots and trading lots and working with each other, because I don't want to sound like we're fighting off, giant national builders, but we like the local businesses. And if we can't keep up with the demand, which we're struggling to keep up comprehensively right now, then we're afraid that a big builder may end up in Lafayette, and that's really, we want to keep our town, close and personal.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, we've had big builders come into the community, and they never seem to last.
Right.
So there's a reason for that.
Right.
But I mean, I guess that's an opinion. I shouldn't say that.
Well, and with Purdue
Yeah.
has just grown, exponentially, and what they're doing with bringing in business, it's going to be appetizing for
Yeah.
a big builder to potentially start looking, which don't listen to this big builders.
That's right.
But, we have to do our part to work together to keep meeting demand and doing the developments and building the houses and keep them pushed out of here.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love the fact that you guys all work together and figure it out, and just makes good for camaraderie and
Right.
community, and yeah. So
We have a really strong builders association in Lafayette, Builders Association of Greater Lafayette. Mary Ellis, you should have her on your podcast.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. I know Mary.
She's a wealth of knowledge, and she will give you lots of information and statistics on what's going on down at the State House and in Lafayette. And
I'll
I
see her
sit-
tonight when we talk.
I sit on the board of directors for the Builders Association with several other builders. So we're
Sure.
communicating all the time with each other. So
Marielle, a bagel podcast. I've not thought about
There you
that, but
go.
we should. That'd be a
right.
good one. Yeah.
That could get interesting.
Yeah.
You think? It depends
Yeah.
on what they say and don't say.
Barney's the president right now, so you could have Mary and Barney Schumann. So
That was kind of where my thought
yeah.
was.
Yeah.
You mean he wouldn't hold back? He wouldn't. I'm just kidding. We've talked a little bit about pre-sold and spec house. Like, let's. I think most people know, but Ashley, you want to define the difference for us?
Yeah, so when we talk about spec houses, those are where we have the builders, I say we, I'm in there too, designated a lot, picked a floor plan, and gotten the process going. So like on my sheets here, I have completion dates as well as planning. So there's a couple slabs out here that we've already designated for what we call spec houses. We get that process going, and if it makes it to completion, then we list it basically, and you purchase it as an existing home. It's done, it's built. You don't have to any of the preliminary steps of the building process in that. That also opens up the door for people to jump in and buy it before it's done as well. And then when you talk about the pre-sold side of things, that's where you come in with a blank slate. You say where you want to be, what you want to build, what your budget is, all of those things, and we start from scratch. We pick your neighborhood, we pick your lot, we pick your floor plan, we do the markups, kind of like what they were talking about, and then we go through the selection process, and just you have a hand in just about every step of the way on that side of things.
So if someone jumps in on a spec that's just like just at foundation, are they allowed to make any changes? Like, can they change the paint color or anything like that, or is it just like this is what it is? It is.
There are certain things, and with really probably since COVID and whatnot, lead times on different materials has been so long that once we designate a house for a spec and get permits going, we order a good chunk of the materials ahead of time. Specifically, exterior things and cabinets are probably the two big ones that we order way in advance. So those things usually can't be changed. And then just depending on where we are in the process and if things have been ordered and whatnot, there's a little bit of a gray area. Typically, we try not to change too much.
Sure.
But if we haven't ordered it and it's early enough in the process, then we can try to accommodate as much as possible.
Makes sense. Keep it the way it is, or would be the preferred method because it's already in process. But I was just curious. Yeah.
And then through the whole building, depending on if you get in, well, not necessarily on a spec home, you're just out and you buy it how it is basically. But on a pre-sold, then both companies, you do electrical walkthroughs throughout the thing where you walk the electrician, kind of designate where you want your different outlets. You have final walkthroughs or home orientations where you get oriented to the home by one of the representatives or warranty managers through the companies, and then you go to your closing at that point.
Cool.
So,
And then what's that after the closing process?
after closing, both companies offer a 1 year bumper to bumper builder warranty. So they come back at the 1 year mark to do any kind of cosmetic things, nail pops, any issues that you have, but anything that were to go wrong during that 1 year would funnel through them. And then after that, Majestic then offers an additional warranty through a third party company that offers a 210 warranty that then kind of tapers off for each year that they would go through them for additional warranty coverage throughout the home.
You mentioned coming back for like nail pops and small stuff. I fight this with clients who are used to it at points. It doesn't matter if you build a $5 million house or a $200,000 house. You're going to have small things in the year.
Especially depending on when you build it and
Yeah.
the expansion and things change, things just happen. And
Minor things are going to happen. I'm sure you guys deal with those.
I feel like when I first started doing it, it was cracked tiles. That was the big ugly at your 1 year walkthrough. But now the way they install them, you never see those. And vinyl plank is so popular.
Yeah, I was going to say there's not a ton of tile probably anymore. And
Not as much. And the tile thing, we learn and we start improving our techniques. So we started using a crack suppression membrane on all of our tile floors. So that allows for, if there's a little bit of slab movement and so on and so forth, that it's not just bending and breaking. So it absorbs a little bit of that movement. So
I'd rather fill 10 nail pops than change one tile.
absolutely, especially because the cracked tiles are always the ones that are underneath a door jamb or underneath a cabinet. It's hard to get to.
Tile's not fun.
And back at the beginning of this talk, when you're talking about how they know the ins and outs, like just like that right there, they know from start to finish every little step of the process. They're totally on the, not engineering, but the ground
Yeah, they've done it. That's what
All
we
of
talked
it.
about. I think that's important for any builder, and there's a lot of builders that haven't seen every aspect or haven't done every aspect. So I think that's huge.
I always talk to, during the final walkthrough or orientation, let homeowners know, it's like, this is a new house. Nobody's lived here. There's going to be little things that are going to happen.
Yep.
And, we are just a phone call away to, take care of those little things and, to keep an eye out because, your plumbing, it's been checked, but it's not, had somebody rattling underneath their kitchen sink to get their soap out and knocking into stuff.
Sure.
Little stuff can come up and, we're always going to stand behind it and come back and, handle that, especially in that first year to make sure. But, it takes a little bit of just understanding that, we want to help, we're here, and, we're going to do that.
Another thing that we try and do during the process as we get exposure to our homeowners is a little bit of education about just owning a home, because some people move into a house and it may be their first home or it might only be their second home, or they're moving from a different climate from Florida and they're not used to our cold, dry winters. So, we talk about if you're on a basement, you need to run a dehumidifier in your basement. You need to pay attention to that humidity level, and don't leave your hose hooked up to the outside of the house all winter long because it may freeze and split that hose bib. Seal your driveway. Don't pour salt or ice melt on your driveway. Keep it shoveled off and scrape it as best you can, and manage your home. And we also supply everyone with a book, and it's called the Quality Builder Assurance Standards, and it's like a 200-page book, and it goes through a whole bunch of different scenarios on what can happen and what responsibilities the builder and the homeowner have to manage their way through the processes to keep the house operating at a top shape.
Yeah, because if they don't do their part, it's not. I mean, maybe it is because of the warranty, but it's not really on you.
We try and go above and beyond, but if we give them the information, it just gives us that much of a better opportunity to not have a problem later on. 'Cause they may recognize it earlier, or maybe the problem will just not have to occur in the first place.
Talking about homeowners and their understanding of all of that, my favorite one is in one of our neighborhoods, Jake, I think it was one of your houses, and at their 1 year walkthrough, all of their plants were dead.
Oh,
And they wanted them replaced after 1 year. They all died. They wanted them replaced at that 1 year walkthrough.
yeah. How'd that go?
No.
You got to use some discretion sometimes, and because sometimes we will have it where a tree we'll put in sod and you have to keep it so wet and you can drown a tree, and I'll use discretion on that. But if somebody or you go and somebody says that same thing and their yard's just riddled with weeds and dead, and there's clearly a dog, and
it's all of them, not this one.
Yeah,
the mulch bed's been dug out.
It's
by a dog.
pointed, they point and they say, look at my neighbor's house. Their yard's beautiful and mine doesn't look good. And it's like, well, I also see a True Green sign in their yard, and this doesn't look like it's ever had anybody touch it. So it's tough. Those conversations are tough to have, but I'm not your maintenance person.
Right.
I want to help. I want to do everything that we can, but there is responsibility on the homeowners.
Yeah, we'll do your yard maintenance for the year, but here's the contract.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. As we're finishing up here, I want to go around and everybody tell me their favorite floor plan and why. Ashley, we'll start with you. Favorite floor plan that you build? Do you not want to start?
No.
You want to start the other way? Do you have a favorite floor plan?
I have a couple favorite floor plans.
That's what I was trying to decide.
I'm really excited about this Sacramento plan.
Okay.
Especially when I start building it with the office. Another small change that I made was I made the spare bathroom actually a foot deeper, so there's a little bit more room. I have 3 kids, and we're standing up at the counter trying to brush teeth, and I'm behind them, and we had a narrow bathroom at my last house, so it was a mistake. I don't want anybody else to have to do it.
I have the same, and I'm like, man.
One more foot makes a big difference. So this Sacramento's really strong. I've also been working on our Yellowstone plan, which that one I build it a little bit more sparingly because it is it's 4 bedrooms with 3 full bathrooms plus an office.
It's a ranch.
And it's a ranch, and it's still less than 2,300 square feet. So from a price point, I can be pretty competitive. It's more expensive per square foot than this house is.
Sure.
Because it has 2 more bathrooms, but it sits on lots. It's not too wide, and I'm really thrilled to start building it out. I've tweaked it 3 or 4 different times last year.
So this would be a new plan.
It's an older plan that's been improved 3 or 4 times over, and I haven't built the newest version of it yet. I'm getting ready to actually in like 3 different neighborhoods. So
He's a little excited.
Here
I
he
am.
goes.
I'm really excited. So
We're going all in on this one.
right.
So, cool.
I'd say for Milakis, probably the Emma plan for our ranch plans would be my favorite. I've just seen it change and transform so many different times with pre-solds, and I'll pick a little bit out if I really like it and adjust our spec or our model to be that way. 2-story, you can't beat the value of the Emma 2-story. It's 3,371 square feet.
Jake likes the Emma.
And
It was his floor plan.
yeah, I did live in that house. Now, I mean, the Morgan that I talked about, that's just under 3,100 square feet. I mean, that's just a beautiful exterior on it. Amazing master suite, 2-story great room. It's 5 bedroom, 3.5 bath. Just another really great plan. So, but I do, like we've talked about, more of the custom houses as well.
Yeah, nobody walks in.
I've built some amazing custom homes that if you get on our Facebook page, you see them, and I don't necessarily advertise those as I would never build them as a spec home.
Sure.
One, they're typically too big.
Right.
And the costs just go up. It's for a different client, different clientele. But some of those pre-solds that we build just turn out stunning.
Which are good resources when someone comes in and maybe they don't know what they want. And, one of ours doesn't really fit it and they're kind of at a loss, then they kind of describe things. And Jake's like, oh, well, I built this house for such and such person. And maybe they kind of evolve from that for ideas, which is nice.
And I don't necessarily love to do it this way. It typically is a little bit more expensive, but I mean, I've started with a blank piece of paper with a client and drawn an entire house for them.
I'm pretty sure all 3 of you guys did that with your own houses.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's just how it works.
Yeah, and it's some of that those obviously take longer to design and come up with, and you got to really think about it. And that was the best part about with like the Emma model. I got a chance to live in it. I figured out what
you
was
didn't
not
like.
good really quickly. So it's if I could just live in every single model, I could figure that out.
You need to move again then.
I'm not doing that.
So they kind of actually hit on probably all of them that I would say, but I'm kind of a sucker for the 2-story living room too. So the Morgan is one of my all-time favorites. If we were going to build, that was what I really wanted to build, which is similar to what Majestic has is the Cumberland, which has a nice 2-story great room that's open floor plan with an island, nice loft area. So you have that kind of second, not huge space, but you do have a second living space for kids, which I think is important. And then cost effective and just overall efficiency of the Emma 2-story, because it's basically your basement put on top. It's a huge open area, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and storage, which is exactly what you're most likely going to have on a basement for half the price.
Sure.
And it looks like a ranch
It
from
does.
the road too.
And
I
the
mean, you
main-
can't hardly tell the difference between it and the regular.
I've had a couple
3,200 square feet.
Almost 34.
older couples who are still building it because the main level is your ranch. It's your 3 bedrooms with a den. Like, you don't have to use the upstairs. Same, just like if you had a basement, you have it available. And someone's like, well, I don't want the stairs. I was like, you want a basement.
Yeah.
It's the same number of stairs. You're just going up first instead of down. And they kind of have a light bulb go off, and then you can show it to them. And I have to be careful, though, because I have too many people wanting to build it in the same areas.
Oh. Have you guys had that, like, where somebody wants to build the same house side by side?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So right now back here, I have the Sacramento. I just got off the phone with Michelle Wagner. She wants to build the Sacramento on lot 39. Oh. And I'm working with Ashley with a different client who wants to build it on lot 37. So I'm aware of that. I'm cognizant of which side the garage is going to be on. I'll make sure that I change the front elevation and make sure that from a color combination that they differentiate themselves quite a bit.
They won't be exactly the same side by side.
Yeah, best case scenario, I'm going to make sure that you drive past and you don't even notice that there's the same model that's
awesome.
near each other. So that's important to us. We don't want to have total redundancies.
No, I mean, I can think of a few instances where maybe they're not exactly the same, but they even if they're completely different floor plans where they're exactly the same combination, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and with a lot of our ranch plans for both companies and for other builders, I mean,
It's hard
there's
to
only
lay them
so
out.
much you can do
yeah.
on the
I
exterior.
wasn't necessarily saying you guys. I just meant in general. You drive through a neighborhood and they're like,
Oh, yeah.
these are the same.
And sometimes those aren't even the same builders that are next to each other. They look the
Well,
same.
That's what I'm doing.
What I was going to say on Milakis homes, us realtors get to do a lot of the selections on those for the spec homes. And I'm either calling them if I don't have time to drive out there or driving through the neighborhood, because you could be building next to another builder and 5 white houses. Jake says you can't do a white house out there this time because that's a popular color right now. So making those changes, which that's probably my favorite part of the process, is doing the selections and some of the design stuff when you sit down with the people. Why are you laughing at me?
Didn't know why it takes so long if you love doing it so much.
It takes time, okay? It takes time. I got all mine done very quickly last time.
He's over
And the
there
joys of
smirking,
working with brothers.
It's a family business.
It
right?
is.
There you go.
Yeah, there's no slack for any of us.
No.
Well, that's good
With
though, 'cause
each other
it
or
keeps,
the
it keeps
boss.
all of you on your toes, right?
Keeps everybody sharp. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of Real Estate Co-Pilot. I'm your host, Josh Shives. Make sure to go out and like and subscribe and listen to our podcast. Thanks.